There's no hype intro today. You're getting a freestyle episode because, quite frankly, the information I'm going to present to you right now, once again, before you're hearing about it anywhere else, is going to be, in my opinion, a bit of a paradigm shift here in NFTs. And this is freaking huge. And that's crazy to say because it's just been birthed, but it's made everyone involved an astronomical amount of money. And in my opinion, I'm seeing more of a movement than a project. It's completely inverting and disrupting what I've come to know about NFTs, about crypto, about building projects in general. Whether it's a success or failure is yet to be determined, but you're definitely going to want to watch this episode, as this one I think is going to blow your mind. Go ahead, destroy that like button. Remember, each and every comment on this video is entered to win your own hardware wallet. And with that said, let's dive in. All right, before we talk loot, let's just talk about this, which is that Twitter will allow you to connect your Ethereum address and your Bitcoin address. I told you this was going to happen. Twitter is going to let you show off your NFTs. Twitter is going to let you interact using Bitcoin and Ethereum. Money of the internet is meeting social media. I knew it was going to happen. It was only a matter of time. Thanks to Jack for making this happen. Now, of course, this is just the beginning. NFTs are going to Instagram. NFTs are going to TikTok. It's going to become a core part of our entire internet culture, of our entire internet. NFTs are going to become your assets, all of your possessions. And this is just the first little inkling, the first little signal, the tip of the iceberg. But I told you this was going to happen. And I told you NFTs would be bigger than all of crypto combined. And you're seeing it happen in live time. Now watch, because the future is going to be very, very interesting as we start to approach virtual worlds. Now, to understand what I'm about to tell you, you need to be on board with the concept that NFTs are programmable assets that can really be programmed to do anything. Let's actually jump off this page. I just wanted to show you this. This is some FOMO. By the way, ETH is going to be the biggest winner here. And I wanted to share this because a lot of people are saying, is it going to all go to Solana because Ethereum's gas fees are way too high? Well, guess what? Solana pretty much broke during the Star Atlas IDO. Obviously, it was a very hyped one. But so far, ETH is the network that works the best. Although it works slowest, ETH2 is going to fix that. It's all going to get worked out. And in the long run, I believe ETH is still king, or it looks like it's going to be king for a very long time. So now it's time to talk about loot, or loot for adventurers, as the project is called. So last week, I started seeing this pop up in the Discords that I frequent. Shout out to Wall Street Kongs as well as the other ones. But as we can see here, there's just a bunch of text files. And if we click into one of them, you'll see something like Ghost Wand, Holy Chest Plate, Ancient Helm, Sash, Heavy Boots, Leather Gloves, Amulet, Titanium Ring. And as we see here, the project describes itself as loot is a randomized adventurer gear generated and stored on chain. Stats, images, and other functionality are intentionally omitted for others to interpret. Feel free to use loot in any way you want. So the more you dig into this, the more it starts to create new questions. But on the whole, what loot is essentially a bunch of randomized items with absolutely no other information, no imagery, and there wasn't even a cost. Actually, to mint these, you just paid for gas. It was completely free, and there are 8,000 total items, total loots here. And so what they call these is a bag, and each bag has a number, and they're each unique. So what you need to know here is that loots are just a bunch of lists of words. Now, I thought this was like a play on the profile pic project, and I actually ignored it. In fact, I was a little bit annoyed by it. I was like, ugh, we've really sunk down. They're not even doing art anymore. But actually, the way that this is programmed is that each item here is part of the smart contract and can be built upon freely. So let's go down the rabbit hole of why loot has become potentially the most important and impactful project in the NFT space now, with the trading volume of over $120 million. I think actually over $150 million. So let's dive down the rabbit hole here. So somebody says here, fungibles. Let's go ahead and make this a little bigger. Fungibles says here, I just made 5 ETH buying an 11 ETH loot. Doesn't make sense, right? Let's dig in to see why loot is so special. The typical NFT here starts with the creator, and they either send airdrops, grow the fan base, add utilities, or etc. They add the creative value down into the NFT. You have an artist, you have a game creator, something like that, and this is how they are creating it and distributing it to the audience. The audience buys it. Well, loot is the opposite. The concept around loot here is they don't create anything except for parameters. They just create the guide rails, which are these items, but the rest is on the community. And essentially, this is more of an experiment than it is a project, as all good things typically are. Think about CryptoPunks, think about all those early projects that were really not done intentionally to be commercialized, but ended up becoming these massively commercial pieces of history. This is what loot essentially is saying that they are, which is these building blocks. So what loot is saying is we don't give you anything, but we just distribute these parameters to collectors. Everyone else, feel free if you want to build this to do the rest. So as Fungible says, he wished he knew more about a week ago, but no one was really good at explaining it. And everyone who talked about loot seemed to have these real garbled explanations when I talked to them. Now, with all games, you start at the beginning. There is some story arc where you start at the beginning with nothing but your character. All the different items, characters, worlds, etc. are designed, and you work towards the goal of collecting things to become better at the game. With loot, they gave everybody a bag with items in it and said, go. So essentially, you just have a bag of items, but the world isn't built yet. The characters aren't built yet. Nothing's built yet. So now you have developers and designers working towards building out what the game could be. This is why it is bottom up as seen in the graphic above. See this, instead of being top down where one creative or one group of creatives determine what the parameters are and actually create them, it's the opposite. We just have parameters, no actual creative. A lot of people are now developing on top of this framework and creating an adventure game. It's unfolding before our very eyes, and it's the community's job to co-create. So by the way, if you do want to buy into this, it is really expensive. The cheapest loot is like 15 ETH. Now I watched it go from 1 ETH to 3 ETH to 5 ETH to 10 ETH to 15 ETH. And then I actually started hearing about my friends getting airdrops worth over $70,000. And yes, it all boggles the mind. I'll get to all of this and more, but you just have to understand, people are really inspired by this generic set of parameters and how this isn't telling anyone what it's going to be, but it's letting the entire community, the entire internet decide what this will be. So some things you'll want to know before aping. You're going to want to know to check if the loot has been claimed, right? Because somebody's probably already claimed the airdrops that you would get for that loot. In particular, each loot got 10,000 AGLD. They created a fungible token that the airdrop to their holders, A gold or adventure gold, and essentially now it's 170 according to this post. But obviously that's outdated data because it's actually 453 and its all-time high was actually $7.70 about 6 hours ago. So about a little bit ago, this was $7.60. If you're a math whiz out there, you'll know that 10,000 times 770 equals $77,000 that they airdrop to everyone for free. So $77,000 at peak, and who knows, maybe it'll rocket up again. In either case, it's still valuable to own the loot. The most desirable are the divine robes, which are like 40 ETH each. Nobody knows where this is headed. There's a lot of developers and artists involved. I heard you can take different traits within your loot and unpack them into individual 1155 tokens so that people can trade those individual items. Very cool. So essentially what he's saying here is that the actual traits here within the loot, meaning like in this exact case, the Toma Fury can actually be unpacked from your bag and traded as an individual item. Again, showing this is a parameter-based experiment. It's not actually just all about what is this individual bag, right? This is just a bunch of underlying building blocks. Think of this as bricks that people can build, like Minecraft, you can build anything with. So the point is, essentially, if you have loot, you can take part in whatever the game is going to be, even building applications on top. If you have a calling, use the loot in your bag to collect things and trade. This feels a lot like not only the future of NFTs, but content creation itself. This is where it gets kind of profound, right? Where you could say this is super dumb, blah, blah, blah. Let's go ahead and throw out, though, this is super dumb and overhyped. Let's just go down the rabbit hole. Join me here. So if building blocks are the ultimate realization and community is the major key, it is the disruptive thing here, which is that we are networks of individual actors and community members working collaboratively. Decentralization is the ultimate killer app of the blockchain. Then wouldn't individual creative building blocks be the ultimate killer app to disrupt the creative industry, right? The future of content is not just one talented creator, but it is the actual decentralized world world coming together to create collectively together based on a common love, a common inspiration. And that's what this is. So let's keep going down this. Obviously, we're going to have articles here saying, here on TechCrunch, the Loot Project flips the script on NFTs. We see all kinds of people coming out here in support of the Loot Project. Most notably, Alexis Ohanian, the co-founder of Reddit here, talking about Loot. Obviously, something is going on here, or as they would say in NFTs, probably nothing. But this kind of stuff, Alexis Ohanian doesn't just jump onto any little NFT project. He's very, very selective, right? And then we have Richard here saying he minted a bag of loot the other day for free, and now it's worth 15 ETH, which is more than the median salary. Again, what's going on here is crazy. You can mint something for free that stays later worth more than the median salary, right? It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. We even have Senor Vitalik chiming in here saying, I think the Loot Project philosophy has it right. Pretty much anything that anyone creates exists. What matters is to what extent other people build on it. And this is really the emphasis of blockchain, which is what makes Ethereum valuable and what makes it the king is that everyone builds on it. Everyone wants to be on ETH. Despite the horrific user experience, everyone wants to be there, the network effect. And Loot has just had the most absolutely insane network effect growth of any NFT project I've ever seen, possibly inclusive of Bored Ape and Mutant Ape Yacht Club. Now, Vitalik continues here. There is an absolute truth in that once an object exists, what you can do with it is limited by the rules coded into that object. But the question is, which objects, quote, matter is decided by much fuzzier forces. And so this is where we're starting to get to this whole loot concept is, on the whole, it's just a body of text. It's just a few lines. But what it could be, what it might be, what it's looking like people want it to be might be something super profound. Again, this could be totally nothing. This could be a fart in the wind and just a gigantic pump and dump where everyone loses their money. But when people like Alexis Ohanian are getting out and talking about this, Vitalik is speaking up on this. When you start seeing all the big brains I know on the internet that aren't even into NFTs, even some of them, like Crypto Messiah, who's not really into NFTs, now is into loot. This has clearly captivated the hearts and minds of some of the biggest brains on the internet. And to me represents a paradigm shift in what might be NFTs going forward, content going forward. What is the process of creation? There are some profound questions and answers raised by this. Very, very fascinating. We have just person after person creating their own additions to this, right? You have people from across the internet trying to understand if this is a joke, if this is serious. I mean, it's got all the makings of something magical. We have even my buddy 888 Crypto over here saying the more he learns about the Loot Project, the more he realizes we are actually experiencing the birth of an entire ecosystem and seeing history being made in front of our eyes. We have 0xB1 saying, loving the creative nature of Loot Project adventures this morning. They even published their own Loot Rock here. At this rate, the Loot community is growing. Loot Rocks could unseat Ether Rock. And so they're calling this the Loot Rock for adventurers. Obviously, we know the Ether Rock is worth millions now. So in summary, when we look back at what's going on with NFTs, first of all, Bored Ape Yacht Club created this amazing decentralized IP ownership, the sense of community and communal ownership over a lot of these pieces of artwork, these pieces of IP. Now, I believe that you could break down what's going on with Bored Ape Yacht Club and build worlds on top of it. That'll happen, I think, probably driven a lot by Yuga Labs, so it's less decentralized. However, what's happening with Loot is phenomenal. It's absolutely a step completely into Content 3.0. I've been saying NFTs are Content 3.0, and I don't think anything quite embodies Content 3.0 like Loot. So I will say I embarrassingly bought the top here, hopefully just a stopping point along the way, but I did just buy a Loot for 15 ETH. Maybe I'll be the dumbest or the smartest guy of the day. I just don't want to be left out of what seems to be a movement. So when I look at NFTs, what I've identified and what made me FOMO over these assets so much starting really in May was seeing the passion of the decentralized crowd, the horde that had gathered around Bored Ape Yacht Club to celebrate these building blocks for community and for product and for creativity. Now I'm seeing that, but almost in a 3.0, a next evolution with Loot. And I do think that it's quite profound. It could totally fail. However, the lessons learned here of creating parameters, creating basic core building blocks, like the core atoms, the core particles that you build creativity or an entire digital world with, those are the things that are actually the core essence of NFT. An NFT is a building block and anything can be created with it. It is not a finalized, realized product, and that is what's so powerful and that is what is so profound about what's going on right now. I never thought I could get twice as bullish on NFTs starting here in this euphoric bull moment for NFTs. I thought I was as bullish as you could get, but no, I've just had my mind blown to pieces. Let me know what you guys think about this loot project. Let it rip, but I'm personally so excited about it. I did just buy one. I only have one. Again, I believe that there will be more free stuff. There will be more stuff built on top of it, and actually having that loot, having that NFT is required, or it's going to be the thing that gets you access to all the other stuff, whether that's adventure gold or whether that's other types of NFTs, whether people start building games or art on top of this. It's all very exciting. As always, each and every day here in NFT land makes me feel even more inspired, but at the same time, even more behind the further we get ahead. Imagine being where I am and still feeling behind right now on the trends. It's crazy. But that's just the reality, is that we're living in parabolic moments, parabolic growth, and the community is always the strongest person in the room, as we're seeing with loot. Absolutely fantastic. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And if you enjoy learning about projects like loot before they're covered on any other channels, then you're definitely going to want to subscribe and put that bell notification on. We're going to be getting you in to the next most important projects before anyone else, helping you peek around corners and actually understand paradigm shifts like NFTs, like gaming, like loot, like Bored Ape Yacht Club, like all of the DeFi gems that are now so astronomically expensive compared to when we covered them early on in their life cycle in 2020. We're here to get you ahead of the game. All you have to do is subscribe and put that bell notification on. Remember, we're going to start doing a weekly here with Alex Becker, covering the absolute best of the gaming industry and the NFT industry. You're definitely going to want to tune in for that. As always, you can find me on Twitter at LeoTrades. We're now up at 270,000 followers and mooning. Join the conversation. It's super fun over there. As always, I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.